Hey, thank you for joining the Ed Sullivan Experience, broadcasting from our farm in Tennessee. I want to thank you for purchasing your ticket to Destination Unknown. That's right, that's the ride that's going to take you to hell and back. If you want to know about Bigfoot, you want to know about aliens, you want to know about UFOs and the paranormal, well, we got the people that have the stories and they're going to share them with you. So just sit back, enjoy the ride, keep your arms and legs in the vehicle at all times. Before you run out the ride screaming, please make sure the ride comes to a complete stop. So let's get the Ed Sullivan Experience started. Let's do this now. All right. Welcome to the Ed Sullivan Experience. I want to thank my guest, Wajid Hassan, for being here today. How are you, sir?
Doing great, Ed. Thanks for having me on your show.
You're welcome. Wajid, he's got a very good life story, and we're going to get into all that. He's an actor, a comedian. He's been doing this for 20 years. But that's not even the stuff we're going to talk about today. That's probably another show. I might have him back on that, and we can talk about all that. But today we're going to talk about, he wrote a book called, let me get it in the camera here, The Struggle for World Sanity. Okay. And he's going to explain why he wrote that book and everything he knows about UFOs and everything else in his book. So, sorry, but it's kind of my opening. So, Wajid, how you doing, sir? I know we had a long time trying to get here. Me and you, we played some tag, but we're finally here. So, thanks for being
absolutely.
on the show.
Absolutely, a real pleasure.
So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, for the listeners, a quick rundown. I was actually born in Pakistan in a city called Lahore, kind of in the poor town, slum area. And finally, my parents decided when I was at the age of 3 to move to England. So we traveled by train and bus over a 5-week period, so I can relate to migrants and refugees, because I guess we were one of them back in the 60s, and then arrived in England 5 weeks later across the Channel, and then we initially moved to the north of England near Manchester. I was there till the age of 10. Then we moved to London, went to high school in the East End of London, kind of the rough part of London, and had my formal education. Finally got into the technical field. You talked about acting and comedy. When I was 15, I got in front of the school and made everybody laugh, and my drama school teacher pleaded with me to get into comedy and acting, but my parents had told me I would have nothing to do with it. Math and science was the order of the day. So I got my formal education and got into the technical field, and got into computer repair, became a field service engineer for a large company in England, covering southern England. Then eventually I was losing my tan in England, so I moved to sunny California, and decided to, prior to that, I actually met my own spiritual yogi master who actually lived in LA. So there was more than one reason of moving to Los Angeles. And then, again, I worked for a large company, TRW, at their computer maintenance division. And then from there, I eventually went to work for myself. I ended up with a little computer repair shop in Hollywood on Sunset near Highland. And I think it was around 1997 when my own spiritual master passed away. I kind of got into a deep depression. I couldn't get out of it because he was like a father figure to me. And then my wife at the time said, why don't you, get back into doing maybe some stand-up comedy or whatever. And so I took some lessons, found out I was still funny. Even, I guess if you can make people laugh at 15, I guess you could make them laugh later on in life as well. And so I was content to do, the open mics at the Laugh Factory and the Comedy Store and improv, and I was quite happy with that. So this lady walked in, kept looking at me after I fixed her computer, and she said, you know, you have an interesting face. I said, so? She said, well, I'm a casting director. So I didn't even know what a casting director was. So I guess I was kind of discovered in Hollywood, and she got me a commercial agent, started booking commercials, got into the union. From there, did small parts in, you know, movies and sitcoms. Did that for over 20 years, like you said, and then just recently moved to North Carolina, outside Raleigh, and it was in August of 2020 that I published the book that you just held up, The Struggle for World Sanity.
So when you talk about your acting and being a comedian and stuff, the look on your face doesn't look like that really thrilled your life. I mean, you made other people laugh, you entertained people, but it doesn't look like that's the part of your life that you're on. Yes, I'm very happy with this. So switching gears to everything you discuss in your book, I think, is that the way your life wanted to go?
I think it was, and it is now, because, you know, the circumstances, how I got to Raleigh and managed to publish the book. It took a while, kind of unfolded by itself. So I kind of believe in destiny, and I don't think, you know, I was seeking fame and fortune in LA and kind of spiraling out of control, because you know how difficult it is to be in the entertainment business. I mean, only a very small percentage make it. I would consider myself as like the top 5% because I was getting regular work. But even then, you know, you got to really hustle, and you got to deal with rejections and menial jobs and everything.
And weren't you typecast too?
I was always typecast, you know.
You had to play the Indian
guy with the turban on the head and the Indian accent. But, you know, considering how competitive, at first I found it a little insulting because I was raised in England. But then I, you know, when they offered me money, I said, of course you want me to put a turban on my head and drive a taxi, and you pay me good money? Yeah, sure, I'll do that.
Yeah, I'd do that.
So yeah, Hollywood loves the stereotype, and yeah, I was put in a niche, but in one way it was good because, you know, I mean, if you're you know, American, Italian, I mean, of course they're going to put you in, you know, kind of the mafia, Godfather roles. If you're Mexican, they'll put you either as a gang member or you know, I mean, unfortunately, that's just the way Hollywood is, and
it is. You
can't fight it. So I accept it, and you know, it was a good experience. It was a good experience.
So you were born in Pakistan, but you don't really remember Pakistan, right? Because you were so young when you moved to England. Yeah,
I did get a chance in '85 to go there for 5 weeks just to seek my roots. It was very strange because I don't read or write the language. I can speak the language Urdu, so it was kind of strange. I felt like an outsider looking in, and it was good and bad in many ways. But I was glad to get back to England. Especially the traffic there is just horrendous, and at that time, General Zia Pakistan was under military rule, and you knew you were in a different country when you got off the plane, and there's soldiers surrounding the plane with machine guns. You know you're in a different country, so yeah, it was good to get back to England.
That would be scary. Yeah, I wouldn't. I have no desire to leave the country I'm in right now. So there's too much in the world going on right now that I don't have the desire to.
You know what? It makes me appreciate America more, you know, because I have been to different countries. I got a chance to go to Africa. So it makes me, you know, people complain, make complaints, but like me and you having this radio show talking about controversial subjects, there's some countries that will put you in jail or they'll behead you for making statements like that. So at least up till now, we're still allowed to openly discuss these subjects.
Yeah, and that could change the way this country's been going lately, but that's a whole nother show. I don't
Right.
even want to get into that topic yet. But I do remember reading in your bio, though, that you climbed Mount Kilimanjaro.
Yeah, back in 2006, I had a chance to go to Kenya, do a beautiful safari there, and then drive over to Tanzania and climb Mount Kilimanjaro, which was a tremendous physical and mental accomplishment. It was probably one of the most difficult things, but one of the most inspirational things I've ever done in my life as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. I couldn't even imagine. I have a hard enough time climbing stairs right now, especially at my age. So I'm like, when I read that, I was like, wow, yeah, that's pretty impressive. So, so what, talk about your yogi mystic. How did you meet that person?
Yeah. Again, just referring back to what you asked me about, my background, in the background, I mean, I had, you have to put food on the table, you have to pay the rent. But in my private life, I was raised as a Muslim in England. So I went to the mosque, did the prayers, Arabic prayers, and read the Quran. But at the same time, I was attending Church of England schools. So I was getting a formal Christian education with Bible study, hymns, Christmas carols. And, I loved it. So for me, I didn't see really any distinction between Islam and Christianity or any religion. I'm very open now to all religions. I think they're different. They're just different aspects of going towards the same source. And it was at the age of 16 that I eventually met my own spiritual master, an Englishman by the name of Dr. George King, and he completely changed my life. And I've been following him for the last 40 years, even after his passing. And so I'm completely devoted to him and his teachings.
So what was it about him that drew you to that? And for my listeners, for those of you that have never even heard of anything like this, can you explain a little of what that is?
Well, it's very strange because here's somebody from the East. Usually, it's usually somebody from the West who goes to the East, to India, to find a yogi master. And so for me, it's very unique that here's somebody from the East who found a yogi master in England, an Englishman.
Right. In the West.
I mean, it's not even heard of.
Right.
And just a quick rundown who Dr. George King was. He was, back in, as a young man, he was a section leader for the London Fire Brigade. He was a conscientious objector to the war, World War II, but he wasn't a coward, and so he showed exceptional bravery during the Nazi blitz over England, all the bombing, and he was into search and rescue and saw some very appalling things. And after the war, recollections of his past lives, he started to study yoga in earnest, and he would practice yoga for up to 10 hours a day on top of his profession at that time, which was a London cab driver. And he did that for 10 years, not only just hatha yoga, but, pranayama yoga, yoga breathing, mantra yoga. And then he eventually started achieving deep states of meditation, which, people refer to as nirvana, cosmic consciousness. And it was then that he was actually contacted. After reaching these high states of elevated meditation, he was contacted by higher beings who could relate to him on that level, not on our basic level. And from there, it's very interesting, Ed, that he was contacted in the 50s when we started exploding again, opened up the Pandora's box and started exploding our atomic and hydrogen bombs. And there was a big concern by the higher beings, or the beings on the other realms or other planets, that, once again, we were ready and starting. We were not only liable to kill the Earth, but also destroy civilization again. And it was very interesting at that time that there was a tremendous flying saucer activity in the 50s and 60s. And I personally believe that if it wasn't for the intervention of these higher beings that man these UFOs, who actually technically absorbed a lot of the fallout. Even scientists today cannot believe that we're still alive. America exploded over 1,000 nuclear warheads, as did Russia. And that fallout should have killed all of us. This should, right now as we're talking, should be just a barren nuclear holocaust.
Right.
And the fact that we're saved, I believe, was intervention from higher beings. We were so ignorant over nuclear experimentation, and they knew that. And I think that's when they contacted my master. They were seen in the skies, and it's not the first contact. These beings have been around and been observing us for the last 80 million years that we've been on planet Earth.
So, and this is what really fascinated me wanting to have you on this show, because I'm a big believer in UFOs, aliens, Bigfoot, all that kind of stuff. But the UFOs and aliens, to me, are really big. And I started researching, and there's a thing called CE5 that Dr. Steven Greer does, which is contacting aliens and having them kind of come meet us by doing the same thing that you were just talking about. So this wasn't the first time this has happened. And has this happened with you?
I was initially contacted when I was at the age of 18. I had this premonition that I needed to go somewhere. I was in England at the time, and this strong mental impulse was being thrown at me that I had to be at somewhere. And I'm fairly psychic, and I couldn't ignore it. And so on the third day, I couldn't ignore these mental impulses, or something was pushing me mentally. And I opened up a map of England, and I scrolled over it with one of my fingers, my forefinger, and it stopped at a place called Salisbury, which is just near Stonehenge. And then from there, I knew I had to be at that particular place, a little place called Clearwater, at midnight that Friday. Don't ask me where I got this premonition, but I just got that message.
Sometimes that just happens.
Yeah, out of the blue. It wasn't something I was looking for. I wasn't a UFO enthusiast. I wasn't into UFOs or aliens, but it just happened. So, I think that's an interesting aspect. And so that Friday, I took the Greyhound, or the coach, as they call it in England. I went there. I got to Salisbury, and at 10:30, and I walked these country lanes till midnight, and I hopped over this fence by this lake. And exactly at midnight, I looked up and I saw this silver disc object moving from the west to the east. So I got this feeling that I was at the right place. And then, sure enough, at 1:30 in the morning, it's getting colder, another white disc-shaped object moved from the south to the north. And it gave me this feeling that this was a sign of the cross. Again, I don't know why. And the cross is a very ancient symbol, which signifies the resurrection of the soul and the spirit towards divinity. And it's a lot older than Christianity. It's been used by many other advanced civilizations, Egypt and other places. And then at 3 a.m. exactly, a much larger spacecraft came over the trees, and it was about 100 meters over me, and it stopped. And this flash of white light came out from the hull of this craft, and this tremendous spiritual energy I felt coming through me. It was like a baptism, almost like an initiation. And from there, I felt that the beings that control this spacecraft, or the beings that control these UFOs, were not only scientifically millions of years advanced than us, but also spiritually. And that's an aspect that the UFO, part of the UFO movement don't like. You know, they're happy to talk about the advanced technology of UFOs, but they don't like the aspect that they're spiritual beings and they care for us. And so that's what I felt, that these beings have been watching us, that they care for us, and are asking us at this time to raise our vibrations and become the spiritual beings that we were supposed to be in the beginning, but we've just regressed ourselves.
So were you in a transcendental state when you saw these spaceships?
Yeah, I don't know how long it lasted, but I was in a deep state of kind of bliss, spiritual bliss. And you know what? I didn't tell anybody for years.
Right.
I just kept it to myself. And first of all,
people will say, "Oh, you're crazy. You're crazy."
Yeah. What were you on? You know?
Yep. Exactly. And, it was in the 70s, right, or 80s?
Yeah. It was kind of 1978 to be exact. And so, you know, I kept it to myself because it was very personal to me. And, you know, a lot of people, UFO contactees, want to go on TV and say, I got contacted and they did this and they did that. And I didn't. It was only till I wrote the book that I felt that I think that message needs to be given to the world and not kept to myself. And I think now, you know, Dr. King received a lot of criticism. He was laughed at in the 50s and 60s. Along with his associates, when they talked about flying saucers and people from other planets and spiritual beings. People now, of all the interviews that I do, people are much more open-minded because science has advanced. So people in the past, when you said, you know, flying saucers, they'd laugh at you. Now, those are in the minority, and most people now agree that there has to be life on other planets and other dimensions.
Yeah, people nowadays are more accepting of things. They're wanting to know more. I think a big part of that was our government has kept us quiet on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
If UFOs, aliens and stuff, and if you even watch the movies and stuff, have been portrayed as bad, evil. You know, they're coming here to hurt us. And I've talked to so many people that's the complete opposite of what they're doing. I do have a question for you. Do you believe there's more than one kind, or is there just one kind of extraterrestrial out there, or are there different kinds?
It would be very ignorant of me to say there's only one kind, you know, in this galaxy. I mean, let's face it, there's probably thousands and thousands of different civilizations in this galaxy and beyond. And so, but in regards to the contact that my master had, you know, he had one. He wrote a book called The Nine Freedoms, and in the Nine Freedoms, he talked about the history of mankind. He also talked about, you know, that'll go back to what you talked about, Dr. Greer and his organization. But he talked about a visit that he made in a projected state. He was invited to a spacecraft at that time that was orbiting Earth, called Satellite Number 3. Now, this spacecraft, when he entered the spacecraft, he was met by a being that was 7 feet tall, that was humanoid, very handsome features, had hair down to his shoulders, and tan skin, and so also the women on the craft were also very, very beautiful. And so, you know, it kind of differs from the little green men or the little androids, which I believe are androids that are used by the cosmic beings, these smaller creatures. But he said that most of the alien, you know, never mind going beyond the solar system. See, he said that there was life, advanced civilizations on Mars, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, and all the other planets except for Mercury. And again, people laughed at him, and they said, how can you? And I, I have to agree with the scientists on just on a physical level. If you went to these planets, the possibility of life is probably zero or minimum. Although,
right, but we think that way because we're thinking of our own existence. We don't know
exactly
what life outside of us, outside of these other worlds. We don't know that they breathe the same air that we do. We don't know that they eat the same food that we do. We don't know just because we have not been to Mars yet. We don't know that there's not a whole colony of Martians living inside of Mars, and that's how they're surviving. That's where my logic goes to.
Well, I mean, if you just study, the Buddhist and Hindu philosophies, they talk about, different dimensions just on this planet. We're not even aware of the different dimensions on this planet, unless you're psychic or or Dr. King himself projected. He said there was 6 higher dimensions from the physical plane and 4 below the physical plane. That's just on this planet. And so when he talked about going to Mars and meeting advanced civilizations on Mars and Venus, he wasn't referring to the physical plane. He was probably referring to level 4 or 5, these higher dimensions. And quantum physics now is talking about parallel universes, different dimensions that can exist at the exact same time as the physical dimension. And, some people have seen UFOs just suddenly appear in the sky and then blip out and disappear. So they have the technology to come from any dimension onto the physical plane and go on to their own dimension. So again, this is a form of science which is thousands of years advanced, which modern science right now has no idea about. And so, these beings are extremely advanced physically, scientifically, and spiritually. And so eventually science will catch up, and eventually these truths will be revealed to the masses, which we're trying to do at this time.
Yeah, if we don't destroy ourselves before that.
Exactly.
I mean, and that's the big question. So, I mean, we've been for years and years, religion has been a big topic with why why we've had wars, why we've had battles, why countries have fought each other has been religion. So, do you think that religion was created by man, but there is a higher power that I don't want to say it's God. It could be someone from another planet, could be someone from another solar system that has come here. Like you said, they've just popped in. We've seen them, and that's how it all got started.
Well, based on my research and the teachings that I received from my yogi master and the teachings that were channeled through him, he went in a deep positive somatic trance and picked up the telepathic signals from these higher beings. And he did over 600 transmissions over his lifetime, physical transmissions where they would send a beam of mental energy to him, usually through the heart center or higher centers, and he would translate it into his own larynx. As being an Englishman, it would be in English. So, again, I'm not here to convert anybody. I just say everybody's to keep an open mind and do their own research like I did. And it was told that some of the main teachers of the religions, people like the Master Jesus, the Lord Buddha, and the Lord Krishna, as other examples were Patanjali, Lao Tse, I Ching, Sankhachara. These were beings that actually came from higher dimensions, from these higher planets, and did start these religions. Unfortunately, and it was very interesting that people are questioning now the Star of Bethlehem. Nobody can believe now that it was a star that hovered over over the stable and led the wise men. There's no such thing as a star anymore. People are questioning that. When the Lord Buddha was born, there was 5 disc-shaped objects seen over the palace, and when he died, 5 disc-shaped objects appeared as he passed away. So they've said that these great masters, these spiritual masters, were not from Earth, not earthlings as such, but were highly advanced cosmic beings who, again, Orthodox religion has got to the point where, they've created this hatred between religions and races, and it's all, the elders of these religions have created that, influenced by, I believe, lower evil entities that have created this and had situations which has caused mass murder, and it's still happening today. But the original teachings are all the same. And if you look at any religion, they were created at a different time, different culture, for different people, but they're all the same, And the message that they're saying is, follow a particular path that leads you to God or the divine or the creator or the universe, but follow basic spiritual laws, like thou shalt not kill, love thy neighbor. Yeah, be good. I mean, that's the essence of religion. Unfortunately, it's been warped. To give you an example, I mean, reincarnation to me is a fact. For me, it's so logical as an engineer, who thinks logically on top of my creative aspects, doing the acting, but just on looking logically, it explains the so-called inequality of man right now. Why is somebody? I mean, if there was a compassionate divine being, why would he create, people born blind, or people born with cancer, or somebody born rich, somebody born poor? These are all aspects of our past lives. I don't think there's such thing as an innocent child. I think we're all born with our past life experiences. And so the message today from these higher beings is that we need to, again, go back to the basics, and regardless of race, color, creed, or religion. And coming back to this visit that Dr. King had at satellite number 3, he observed a tremendous amount of highly technical radionic computer systems on this craft. And he was told later that these cosmic beings, they have a complete dossier, a complete vibrational, the vibrational sequence of every man, woman, child, plant, rock, fish, animal on this planet. They have a complete dossier. And coming back to Dr. Steven Greer, he's okay up to a certain point, but I don't believe that you need an app to meditate. I don't believe that you need to buy an app to meditate. I believe that if you look at Ed, if you look at basic terrestrial science, I mean, today with a global positioning satellite, they can pinpoint anybody on the planet with a cell phone. Okay, right? That's just basic terrestrial science. Now, if you advance that like a couple of million years, these beings can pick up the thought impulse of anybody on the planet. And so if we request mentally spiritual energy to come through us, their computer systems can pick up that mental request and send spiritual energy through us.
See, and that was going to be my question to you, was when you brought up the reincarnation, because I kind of believe that myself. And the reason I believe that is energy is constant. It never stops.
Exactly.
Okay, so if you die, that displaces that whole theory that energy is constant. Okay, right. Because that means your energy would stop, and it can't.
All right.
I think that your past is your past. It's what you did, and each life cycle you get, it's kind of upsell. You get a better one the next time, and you keep
it's a
advancing.
Fresh start. Yeah,
correct. You start learning the things that you made the mistakes on the last part of your life. And then you move to the next one and you don't make those mistakes. You make some newer ones, and you just keep going to higher and higher state. My other thing I agree with you with is with Dr. Greer, and I paid for the app. Okay, I bought the $9 app because that's part of my research. I want to know and I want to see. But I agree. I don't think you need a $9 app. I don't think you need to pay $3,000 to go to a conference and sit with him in a circle in the desert. Okay. Some of the stuff he did when he began was really phenomenal, was great. I think he did a lot of great work, but I think now he's more geared to making the money. Okay. Which I'm all about making money. We don't do stuff to not make money. I'm not doing this show. I mean, I do it for free now, but my ultimate goal is to make some money off of it so I don't have to work my real job and just do this. But I don't want to gouge people, like you said, for $9 an app. I would give that app for free. Okay.
Well, like I'm saying, Ed, based on the knowledge of my yogi master, the cosmic masters work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and sending out this, trying to uplift mankind. And you know what they're asking back? Nothing. And that's, again, alien to us, because usually in the material world, it's like, if I do something for you, what are you going to do for us, for me, you know? And it's, you know, and so that concept, again, unconditional love, these people love us regardless. They look at us as mankind, not as a, you know, as American or a Japanese or a Russian. They look at mankind.
How do you combat the people that go, oh, this is a cult? It's a cult. You know, those people that are trying to teach you that stuff is cult religion. You know,
well, a cult actively recruits, and then you know, and then brainwashes the people in the cult. You know, like Jim Jones and all those crazy people.
Right.
You know, I don't believe I'm part of a cult because I can cancel my membership anytime, and I can walk away anytime. So, like some places, like if you walk away from Scientology, they'll come and haunt you. You know?
Yeah, I've seen the shows on that. That's crazy.
Yeah, so there's some cults that will get you. You know,
you said your membership is your membership free?
No, I pay $60 a year, and that covers their cost for.
That's reasonable, very reasonable.
That covers their cost for you know, and after that, it's up to me if I want to donate to them. They ask for donations, but I don't have to, and there isn't no push to either you donate or you become, or you're not part of the society. So there's none of that either. Okay,
that's good.
Probably why our numbers are low.
Yeah. Well, and the big part of that would be, like you said, they don't, they're not charging for an app or anything. They don't ask for anything from you, but basically the main message is just pay it forward. Correct?
Yeah. And, you know, there's no reward in spiritual service. There's no recognition. You know, if you send out healing energy, like, you know, I belong to a group, the meet up online every day is free. They're from 30, 40 different countries, and we send out the power, the light. People want to join us. It's called 12blessings.org. And, you know, there's no material return. It's like spiritual healing, you know, that the Master Jesus did. We do a lot of that. And again, it's a donation based. So there's no money in it. And so there's no return. So, you know, people are into service of sending out spiritual energy. They're kind of unsung heroes because everybody else wants recognition. And Dr. King just did his work. And we do our prayer work, but we don't go around saying, hey, look, you know, we're saving the world. We're just saying, join us. And coming back to the cosmic masters, which we refer to, they only want one thing from us. And that is for them, they're saying that, listen, at one time, you know, you were advanced beings. You were gods, you know, spiritually, mentally, physically advanced, and you have regressed based on your own free will. You've created conditions on this planet which are appalling. And what they're trying to do at this time is say, you know, Dr. King said there's only one energy crisis on this planet right now. Everything else has been tried. Politics has been tried. War has been tried. The economic system sucks. It favors the rich, making the poor into slaves. Orthodox religions haven't really accomplished much, and so the only solution is not a religious solution, but a spiritual solution, and that's sending out this tangible power. You can stand in front of a mirror and you can visualize white light leaving the palm of your hands and your heart center, and it's guaranteed that it will reflect back to you, and you could physically feel this energy tingling around your hands and your aura. So it's not an airy-fairy thing. It's a real energy. It's just like electricity. It just vibrates on a different, on a different frequency, but it's a higher subtle energy. And what these cosmic beings and Dr. King are saying these days, if we want to save the planet, is we need to transmute the mind belt that's full, because the thoughts are real. Again, because we can't see them doesn't mean they're not real. These energy bolts that we've created of hate and greed and envy, that needs to be transmuted at this time. Otherwise, again, we're on the crossroads. Either we raise ourselves or we regress ourselves and destroy civilization. Again, the choice is ours.
So is there a hierarchy in with these beings? Is there a hierarchy? Is there
looking at reading the 9 Freedoms? If people want to get the 9 Freedoms, it's available on Amazon. It's been said that some of the planets are more advanced than other planets, and it's been said that that Saturn is the most evolved planet in the solar system. The Saturnian masters are extremely evolved. Again, millions and millions of lives above, say, the masters from Venus or Mars or Jupiter. But there is no political hierarchy. Everybody, they have no wars. They have no political discussions. Everything is revolved around serving each other, serving the solar system and the galaxy. And right now, the biggest concern that they have is they refer to as Terra, which is Earth, and their main spiritual mission at this time is to help the inhabitants of Earth rise into this new age, which is dawning. It's the dawning of the Aquarian age, which is pushing man astrologically to, open his mind and receive energies and be of service. And the conditions, I think that was another reason I wrote the book, is to shed a sense of inspiration and light to your listeners, to let them know that these days are the last days of the old order, and the new order will be a new age of greater peace, greater joy. There will be no wars, no political system, no hydrogen bombs. And eventually this will happen in the centuries to come. And either we align ourselves to spiritual and raise our vibrations, or we may not be able to stay on this planet because we won't be able to handle these high vibrations. So that's the gist of my message tonight.
So, and I appreciate that, and I'm glad we were able to get that out too. My question on that, though, is if we're reincarnated and the other beings decide that we can't handle this planet anymore, are we reincarnated into something from their planet, or we just don't know?
Well, actually, we do know, based on my master's meditations and what these cosmic beings have said, that in mercy and the law of karma is just. Actually, that's the first thing that children need to be taught in schools before math, science, or hygiene. They need to be taught the law of karma. The action and reaction is opposite and equal. It's the law of divinity, law of God. I mean, you're allowed to do whatever you want to do so long as you're willing to face the consequences. And I've learned, doing so-called mistakes or stupid things in my life, I've received the backlash of it. And I've also the good things that I've done, I've also received that as well. And so, man's law, you can get away with murder, hire an attorney and get away with it, but you can't with the law of karma. If you murder somebody, you too will be killed or murdered in either in this life or next. Again, not to punish you, but to teach you that you don't murder people. And so, coming back to where will these people go? The people, that the warmongers or the polluters or the murderers, they, as Mother Earth, she herself as a planetary goddess is raising her vibrations as well. Those who will not be able to withstand these high spiritual vibrations after death will be taken to another planet in this solar system. Scientists have referred to this as the planet X, which is on the other side of the sun. We can't see it, but they know it exists because of the magnetic pull, I think, of Uranus and Neptune. And they figure that this planet is about 8 to 10 times the size of Earth. And the cosmic beings have said that those in the future who do not align themselves or don't want to be part of this new age of peace and enlightenment, will be taken after death and reincarnate onto this planet X and start the reincarnation or the bloody history that we created on this planet. And again, that's a revelation which people, I don't think many people have heard of that revelation before.
No, I haven't. So basically, is that hell, or is that purgatory, or is that just hey, you're going to start all over again from the beginning? Day one, you get to start all over again, and let's see if you do it right this time.
Yeah, I mean, there's no such thing as hell and purgatory. Again, that was made up to control the masses.
Same with heaven?
Yeah, I mean, we create our heaven or hell based on our own actions.
Okay.
There is no punishing God. I don't believe in a punishing God at all. I think that's all fallacies. It's again for control. And it's very interesting, Ed, that a couple of years ago, there was an article in the London newspaper, the Daily Express, that Christian scholars, they've been researching Christianity, and they found out that reincarnation was actually taught in the Christian church 700 years ago. They actually took it out of the teachings in order to put that one life in order to control the masses.
Yeah, I would like to spend an hour or two just in the Vatican Archives, and let me see what's in there, because I guarantee you there's some stuff in there that will blow your mind.
They know all about flying saucers. They know all about reincarnation, everything. But they're just keeping it, they're keeping it behind their gold-plated chairs.
I believe that too. And I was raised Catholic. So for me to not do that anymore, I totally believe that.
Well, being raised as a Muslim was the same thing, punishing Allah, punishing, that if you do this, you're going to go to hell. It's all rubbish. When we die, we go to the realm which vibrates in our own sequence. So if we're a bad person, we'll go to those realms to learn. But we won't be, that's the thing. There's a compassion in the law of karma that every being is allowed to rise. And so, coming
somebody
back
like
to
Hitler,
even Hitler will be able to come back.
Because that's what people are going to say. They're okay. So Hitler and Jeffrey Dahmer and what's his name, Charles Manson, all those people, they kind of basically get a do-over. Okay, here's what you've done. Now let's see if you've learned from those mistakes. Correct?
Well, what Dr. King said, that the controllers of satellite number 3 have said that they don't just send energy to those who are spiritual and nice beings. They said a mass murderer, if he's doing good at that particular time, will be sent that energy. So they make no discrimination. And so the door is always open. Yeah, to the Hitlers and like you said, the Manson. I mean, it's always open. So there's no such thing as eternal death and damnation. That's just pure rubbish.
Something that man created.
Yeah, exactly. But unfortunately, karma being just, they will have to go through a lot of painful incarnations before they, because they have to pay that karma of what they created. So unfortunately, they will have to suffer many lives of limitation,
Right.
before they, and again, it's not to punish, but to teach, and eventually, to become a more decent person.
So in your book, you saw UFOs, a couple of UFOs. Have you ever tried to reach out again to see if you could get them to come visit you anymore?
I think the feeling I get is they contact us, we don't contact them.
Okay, so that kind of displaces everything that Steven Greer's doing.
Yeah, I think they contact us. They contacted my master. He didn't contact them. So we can contact him mentally. I think I lost you there with the sound.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. We can contact them mentally, and they will pick up our thoughts and send spiritual energy, but we may not get a message or a sighting from them. It's up to them.
Okay. So we can reach out to them if we wanted to.
We can reach out to them right now. The beings from Saturn can probably pick up the thought emanations of every man, woman, and child on this planet.
Well, that would be a great show if we could get them on here. But I don't think that's going to happen. So,
but I will tell you one thing for your listeners, Ed, that the cosmic beings and Dr. King have stated that there will be, people have talked in the religions about a Messiah. They talked about Jesus coming. They talked about in Islam. They talked about the Imam Mahdi or a savior or a spiritual master who's going to come. And that's been predicted as well. But this particular being will actually come openly in a spacecraft, and he will approach the Earth leaders. And we don't know when this is going to happen, but has been foretold. And he will have tremendous powers. He won't come as a dictator, but he will have. They said his powers will be more powerful than the combined military might of the armies. Now that kind of power I can't fathom. But he will lead mankind into this new age or spiritual future that's been destined for us.
And it would need that kind of power because the way our governments, and not just our government in the United States, but the governments throughout the world, and the way people think, the hysteria and the disbelief, and just from everything that everybody has been taught over the years that something new is not good for you. And that's what people were taught there. An alien coming here in a spaceship, getting out here with all these powers. They're not here to help you. They're here to destroy you. And I just have a hard time believing that. If they were going to destroy us, they would have already done it by now.
Dr. King actually asked, he asked them, he said, if you were going to take over the planet, how soon could you do it? They said between 10 and 15 minutes, they could completely control this planet.
Oh, I'm sure they could.
With that kind of power.
Exactly.
They refer to our nuclear war, our hydrogen nuclear warheads as toothpicks.
Well, yeah, for them it would be. So, and that's what. Yeah, it's hard to fathom that our government would actually think that we could destroy something from one of these other planets that has that much technology.
And, and again, I agree with you. We've been molded, we've been hypnotized, we've been controlled by the media, by these, I think, people behind the scenes who control the governments. I believe over the centuries they've controlled us. And now that's breaking. There is a spiritual renaissance. And, again, there's an indifference. I mean, I remember I'm sure you remember, a couple of years ago on CNN where these retired generals from the Air Force talked about UFOs visiting a silo in Colorado, emanating pink beams that neutralize the nuclear warheads. I mean, do you think that to me, that should have shaken the planet? But the next thing you know is, Beyonce's come out with a new album. These weapons of mass distraction. I mean, these are these are disciplined, highly disciplined military, and they're not Mr. Joe Smith, the farmer, or, Mrs. Jones, the housewife. You can dismiss that. You can't dismiss these military, trained people for what they saw, and they saw UFOs neutralizing nuclear warheads. I mean, that's where we are
that's where we are as a society, though. We have it's almost like the Wizard of Oz. It's like, ignore the man behind the curtain. Don't worry about the man behind the curtain. So we're desensitized to a lot of this stuff. We don't even think that, okay, it's like you said, yeah, that happened and it was on CNN, but oh, look, Beyonce's got a new album coming out.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the topic of the day.
Yeah, the next quick mental fix. The TikTok generation, just looking at 10-second videos over and over again and being hypnotized. And what they're saying is, put down the iPhone, the smartphone, and look up into the skies, look up at the stars, look up at the clouds, and look for inspiration. Go out into nature, climb in. I've never been close to divinity. When the closest I've been to divinity was when I actually climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, maybe because I was half dead, but but I've never felt such inspiration. You're not going to get that looking at YouTube and TikTok. It's okay for a little leisure or whatever. I love English soccer. I always check out the Premier League, but I'm not a fanatic.
Right. And
so again, it's a case of detaching yourself from the so-called pleasures of life. I mean, how many channels or movies do you want to see? Detach from that. Have a little bit of pleasure, little bit of leisure. But, we're spiritual beings in physical bodies, and attach ourselves to the higher inspiration, the greater masters, people like Jesus and Buddha and Krishna. I think they were the real political leaders of the planet. I think the greatest political speech ever made was the Sermon on the Mount, because it taught mankind, go back to basics and start loving each other. And the earth leaders are not doing that. They're dividing us. And the biggest weapon right now is fear. With the pandemic, there's fear. There's fear between countries. There's political fear. There's
racism. Everything. Yeah. It's gotten out of hand. It's almost like we took 20 steps backwards. We have 2020
really
on. We have regressed to something that's just to me is just unbelievable in this day and age, and that's where we're at. It just blows my mind. So people won't grasp anything right now. For some reason, they're just not going to grasp it, and it's one of the reasons I like doing this show, because I'm not here to judge anybody or to say anybody's opinion or anything is wrong. I want to get messages like yours out and let everybody start making up their own minds. If people actually sit and listen for an hour, something like this could actually change their mind, or have them open up their mind and start looking at things in a different way.
Well, it's interesting. Like when I lived in California, every time there was a major earthquake, the churches were filled. The following Sunday, they were filled. People coming back to the Lord and praying and forgiveness.
Yes, the last minute. I'm saved. Take me. Don't let me go.
Thank you, God, for saving my life. And then then the baseball season starts.
Yep.
So and Dr. King mentioned, he said, when the next master is coming, he made a hint. He says probably at that time the financial institutions of the world would have collapsed. So he may come so we may be destined to a little bit more misery before we get better. So there may be some kind of economic and social collapse of mankind before mankind probably needs that to realize.
We're getting there now. So where can they get your book, The Struggle for World Sanity? I know I got my copy. I got on Amazon.
Yeah, they can go to Amazon, and it's an ebook, a printed book like you have, and an audiobook which I narrated myself.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. I like audiobooks because you can listen to them in your car, and that's kind of why I do the podcast as well. But I like holding something. I like to have it in my hands, and actually I can look at it and look at pictures if there's pictures in it, stuff like that. So you also have a website?
Yeah, if they want to learn more about myself and my spiritual master and his organization, the Aetherius Society, they can go to my website, which is wajidauthor.com, WAJIDAUTHOR author.com.
Okay. And I'll put a link on this YouTube channel for the book, and I'll put a link on there for your website as well. And the audio, the podcast, we'll just announce it again. So I'll let them know where they can go find the book and your website. I really appreciate you taking your time out. Like I said, it took us like 9 months to get to this point to where we could actually have this interview. I'd love to have you back on again sometime, because I know there's a lot more that we could touch on, and not only, excuse me, this, but your career and so many other things. So
yeah, you have a very relaxed demeanor, and we could talk at least for another couple of hours easily.
Oh, we could definitely. Yeah. Well, my wife's already been here twice, so I'm like, I guess I better wrap it up soon. So, but I really do appreciate you, Wajid, coming on this show and being patient with me with everything that we had going on, trying to get this taken care of. So,
all right, my friend.
You have a great day, and thank you very much. Is there any last messages, any last minute things you want to send out to the viewers before we go?
Usually, my last message is I think we owe it to the next generation to make it. We need to leave a legacy for my nieces and nephews and people's children. That we need to take the action of sending out spiritual energy so that they can live in a world that they can appreciate.
On that note, we will end this, and that is great. All right, everybody, thank you for joining the Ed Sullivan Experience. I want you guys to have a great evening. Stay healthy, stay happy, and we will see you next time.